You're listening to the Marne Report.
Well, hey, Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield. This is Molly coming at you again with another awesome episode of the Marne Report Podcast. Today I'm here with my friends Kara and Jay, and they are going to talk to us all about the upcoming Patriot Day 5K and 10K run. First of all, thank you guys so much for being on the show with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. I'm just going to go ahead and say this in the beginning. This is always one of my most favorite podcasts to do. I think, I don't know if maybe it was my formative years coming up and, really understanding what was happening in the world when 9/11 happened. But I just truly appreciate you guys coming on the show year in and year out to discuss this, one of the coolest events that Stewart and Hunter hosts for our soldiers and family members in our military community. And also, the opportunity that we have to talk with some of our first responders from the installation to hear their stories and, how 9/11 affected them. It's just very, very cool. So, again, thank you both so much for always doing this for our community.
It is our favorite part of planning this event.
No doubt. No doubt. So why don't you guys go ahead and tell me, I think the event is a little bit different than it ever has been in the past, right?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. This year is a completely different event than anyone's ever seen. So we are actually moving this event off the installation into downtown Savannah.
Wow.
So huge change from what we normally have. We are going to have this event will span over 2 days. Friday evening, we're going to do a packet pickup event with food trucks and beer sales and bounce houses and stack displays from all over different military installations around here, not just here at Fort Stewart.
Wow.
And then the next morning, we'll kick off the run in the morning with the Golden Knights jumping in and then kicking off the race throughout downtown Savannah and ending back in Forsyth Park.
That's incredible.
I know. I'm excited.
So why the change this year from hosting it a couple days? You're actually hosting it at each installation at the same time, right?
Yeah.
What made you decide to go downtown?
It's kind of a natural progression,
Yeah.
Every year, Karen and I and her team and my team, we're always having to jump back and forth from Fort Stewart and Hunter, and we plan them where they're back to back one day after another. This is just kind of the natural progression where we can get it all knocked out, put all of our, chips into one pot, and also bring in the community, because they're a part of this just as much as we are.
Sure.
So, and it's good relations with our Savannah partners and the surrounding community there. This event has the capability to really force multiply into a national event, or nationwide type news coverage and things like that.
Yeah.
Which all points back to the solidarity we had on that day, so long ago. So when we formulated this idea many years ago and we started putting our thoughts into it and just kind of making it up as we went, like I said, this just becomes the natural, progression of that event.
I think it's so cool. So, before with the run events, it was really just DoD ID card holders, right? Anybody who could get on the installation since that's where they were hosted. Is this open to the community?
Yes. So with it being hosted in Forsyth, as Jay talked about, we want to bring the local community in. So while it is obviously, we're really focusing on our installation, ensuring that our soldiers and our families know that this is a great event we're putting on for them as well. We are putting it on for the community. So it is open to anybody at all. You don't even have to live in Savannah. You want to make a fun weekend out of it, hang out in Savannah. This is a perfect way to kind of recap all of that weekend. There's so many other great things to do in Savannah. The city of Savannah has been an amazing partner to us throughout this whole process. So they're also planning other activities that weekend that will continue with our theme of patriotism, of being united and things of that. So there's going to be so many things to do afterwards. Obviously, we want to ensure we are focused on showing our support for our first responders and our active duty military, which is why when you are signed up for this race, it is free if you're active duty or first responder. And that does not just mean a first responder on our installation. Any first responder. We want to make sure that you are being recognized And by that, for us, we're giving you free access to this race, which still comes with some cool swag. And then there is different tiered levels of cost based on if you're an ID card holder or if you're not an ID card holder. But we want to ensure that everyone's coming out to supporting together.
Sure. So how about, say somebody's just and they find themselves in Savannah. They have no idea that this run is happening, and then all of a sudden there's a run and they want to do it. Can people show up? I mean, obviously you want to encourage people to sign up ahead of time, but you know, for those random people that, you know, might just be like, hey, I want to do that. They can show up and...
I think we'd be completely going against our theme of being united if we turn them away.
Sorry.
So absolutely. Obviously, it is much better if you sign up well in advance. If you sign up on our normal deadline, which would be 31 August, then we guarantee you a shirt.
Sure.
Anytime after that, I can't guarantee I'm going to have enough to support the shirts in the correct sizes.
Yeah.
So you do run the risk of not being guaranteed that shirt on day up. But we have sign-ups on Friday night during packet pickup.
Yeah.
And we will also open up sign-ups from 6:30 to 7:30 the morning of the race.
Cool.
For our very last-minute people that just kind of be walking through Forsyth and decide, hey, I want to run a race today.
Cool. So last-minute sign-ups, not guaranteed the swag.
Not guaranteed.
But guaranteed a good time.
Correct.
All right. So is there anything else that you guys would like to add that maybe the community doesn't know about?
Yeah, so I think some of the big things that we want to make sure that they know is the Friday night event is going to be open to anybody. Even if you decide you don't want to run the race the next day, 5Ks aren't your thing. I get it. They're not mine either. It's open to everyone. It's in Forsyth Park. We're going to have the Third ID band out there playing. We have some really cool military displays coming from all over this area.
Yeah.
A lot of vendors and sponsors and just things out there. It would just be a really, really fun night. And that's from 6 to 10 on Friday.
Cool.
Then the next morning, again, if you're not into running, I still have things for you. We are looking for people to come volunteer. And we're really just looking for people just to come and cheer them on. It's going to be a great event. A lot of people out there. And it would be really cool as they're running down some of these squares in Savannah, just have people cheering them on and encouraging them to keep going, especially towards that end. That's a lot of running. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I'm in that same boat with you, Kara.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. Yeah. So you guys, even if you don't want to run, come out and support and have a good time, because it's a great cause.
Yes.
All right, Jay, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, just for the first responders out there that are thinking about doing the walk in their gear and things like that, that's usually kind of how we do it. One of the things we've done this year is we've kind of taken that into account, and Kara and her team have set the race up to where all of the firefighters are going to start actually about 30 minutes early, and we're going to all walk in solidarity.
Yeah.
And, which will be really cool because we should finish somewhat together if we're leaving 30 minutes early on that 5K course. And then when we're finishing, plus it's going to push them that extra, little bit because that gear's heavy. And that's the whole point. Like when we're out there in our gear, it's not fun. But you kind of have it in the back of your mind of why you're doing it.
Sure.
And then having people coming by you, it's going to motivate them when they're catching up to the firefighters there, and then at the end it's just going to make that real good photo opportunity, and everybody's going to really feel it. The emotions are going to get high there at the end. So
let me ask you, are you bringing the bell? Does everybody get to ring the bell?
We're going to bring the bell.
Just checking, because that's also a really special moment.
But we got to be very careful. We don't want to damage the bell.
We're going to limit the bell.
Right.
Yeah. Limit the bell.
We're going to limit the bell.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, but the
It
bell
probably
will be there.
for the firefighters to ring
Sure.
only because they understand the
significance
behind it, and they also understand that you can't just slam the bell and
You have
and
to
damage
be gentle
it. Yeah.
with the bell.
Well, it's a remembrance bell,
Right.
So you don't want to get up there and just trash it. Boom. you know.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I know, everybody, we're going to take a break here in a second so we can actually hear from some of our fire inspectors from the Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield Fire Emergency Services team. But before we go, Kara.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know just briefly, what does 9/11 mean to you?
So I think over the years, it's it's morphed, and doing this race has also changed a lot of it.
Sure.
I think every year this race grows and grows, and it brings you back to that emotion that you felt when it first happened. I think we can all say we're a little guilty of every year kind of lessening the emotion of
Sure.
it. And this event brings it back up, and you get to have a little bit of that sentimentality of, what it's like to be like we were during that time and how we were all very united. And then you see how that unity still works to this day, where DES and MWR morphed into one team.
Sure.
Now we're bringing the city of Savannah into it. So each year our team just gets bigger and bigger, and we're all here for the same mission, which is just supporting our nation, supporting our first responders, and giving them the dedication, the shine that they need, that we need to show people what a great job they do, not just on September 11th, but all the time.
Yep.
And it's really great to be able to give back and to be able to do that.
I love it. That's great. What about you, Jay?
Well, it's just like the saying back in 2011, never forget. And I think, to piggyback on what Kara's saying, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're not forgetting, and that's the whole point. So for me also, it's just morphed. It's gotten bigger and better every year.
Yeah.
And I'm just really proud of our team, the entire garrison coming together. We have some support all the way from the senior mission commander all the way down to the soldier that's been here for a month. And that is, Team Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. You guys should be very proud. Just again, thank you both so much for helping plan this amazing event. I cannot wait to see how amazing it's going to be. And that would be it for this portion of the Marne Report. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will hear from some of our incredible fire inspectors. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The installation's warning siren, also known as the installation giant voice, is tested on both Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield on the last Thursday of every month. These monthly tests ensure that the sirens are working properly and that the public is aware of the sound of the sirens in the event of an actual emergency. During the test, the sirens will sound for up to 3 minutes. If you hear them, don't be alarmed. This is just another way our community works to ensure our emergency response capabilities are ready when we need them.
All right, everybody, we are back, and I am now joined by my two friends, Trey Sanders and Larry Hodges. They are both fire inspectors for Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield Fire Emergency Services. Thank you both so much for being on the podcast with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. So before we kick off with talking to you guys, why don't you both take a second to just tell me a little bit about what you guys do in your positions now here on the garrison.
Okay. My name is Larry Hodges. I just recently got promoted up to the battalion chief level, which is basically the lead fire inspector out at Hunter. And primary duties is taking care of all the new projects that's coming up, the buildings, the plan reviews, and then helping these guys with whatever they may need with their daily inspections. If they got problems with the ER system, how they inputting them or questions about it, they would just come to me and ask me about it. So been here at Hunter and Stewart since 2019, 30 years in the fire service, and the story goes on for another day.
Awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on that promotion. What about you, Trey?
Oh, well, I'm an inspector here. I'm also a firefighter, and right now I'm training to be a crew leader.
Cool.
Yeah, over time. That's pretty much what the captains do. Well, yeah, I started here at Fort Stewart. I think it was 2015. And since I've been here, I've been a firefighter, and just in February became an inspector. So I teach classes, hot works permits, when people doing hot works, welding, and things like that.
Yeah.
And then we have also a facility warden, fire warden's course.
Sure.
And I teach that course.
Nice.
And also, help out my buddies here, my fellow inspectors and firefighters if they need anything as far as help with, teaching classes or just want to know something. So
that's awesome.
We all explore together.
Yeah, so you're like a jack of all trades.
I try.
What I'm hearing is that you could pretty much do anything.
I try to learn anything. Hey,
that's great. That's a good way to be.
Absolutely.
All right, so this part of the podcast I do every single year, and we always try to pull some of our friends from y'all's division to kind of talk about 9/11, where you guys were when that event took place, and, did it shape your career decisions at all or your lives at all? And just, from a first responder's perspective, I just always really love hearing y'all's stories because they're so moving and unique. So I'm going to let you guys decide who wants to start first. That's a pretty loaded question, right?
I'm holding the mic.
Yeah.
And I'm taller, so,
All right. Yeah.
got me there.
All right, Trey. So tell me, where were you when you first heard about 9/11?
Okay, I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised.
Okay.
I left to join the military when I was 17. So at this point, I had just exited the military in 2000. I was married at the time to a soldier, and she was living in Germany, so I went over as a dependent.
Sure.
And I wasn't in school. I wasn't really working. I was just a dependent, living at home, enjoying Germany. So I was sleeping off some alcohol,
Yeah.
And woke up, the TV was on, and I thought it was a new movie.
Sure.
I seen the World Trade Center get hit, and I was like, wow, I've never seen this movie before. So I was just clearing my eyes, and then come to find out it was a news report, and then I seen the second plane hit the tower. Mm-hmm. So, my first reflex was to call my wife. Where are you, and do you see what's going on? And she said, yeah, they sent everybody home, and, everything that followed from that point on. But then I called home and was like, hey, where you guys at? Because I had just come over to Germany.
Yeah.
I had been there maybe for a month. So I had put in for job interviews at the towers.
Yeah.
So it was like, whoa.
Whoa.
Glad I didn't get that job in a sense,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a bittersweet thing because he started to watch the footage of the reality.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, those are New Yorkers, Is any of my family there? Any of my friends there? Mm-hmm. So once I got clarification, it took days to pretty much get a tab on everyone and where they were and where they were not. But it started to unfold, and it just got worse and worse and worse. So as far as how it influenced me to go into emergency services, I went back into the military active.
Awesome.
In the Guard, for a while. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty much with deployments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as far as emergency services, I always wanted to be a firefighter. To see what the people were going through, it gave me an idea of just a level of commitment, and of the lives as firefighters, emergency services. And I'm like, wow, I wanted to understand just the cost of the brotherhood, to be a part of it, to that level.
Sure.
And then I had an opportunity to be a firefighter at Savannah, and I worked in Savannah for a couple of years, and then got deployed from working as a firefighter. But while I was at Savannah, they pour it into you, and they drill you, and they pretty much let you understand the value of the Corps, So taking that, and then after deployment, I got hurt on deployment, and then came back here to win.
Wow.
And Savannah said, well, you hurt, so, you can't do this job anymore. I proved to him I could do it, but, it is what it is.
Sure.
So, fire chief that was here at the time, he seen me at the chow hall, and I just, I like talking to people, so I said, hey, I'm a firefighter too. And he explained that maybe I could train with the guys, and so I started training with him just to keep my skill set up. And then after meeting everyone, and they was like, why don't you start working with us? I'm like, well, I don't know if I can. So the chief sat me down. He said, let me see your certs. He helped me get everything reciprocated to the Department of Defense, and they put me in some classes here. So when I got out of the military in 2014, he's like, wait around and keep putting in for the job. So I put in for it, and they called me, and that was April of 2015. So, and ever since I've been here, I've been giving it 200%.
Yeah.
So.
You proved everybody wrong, right?
Absolutely.
What a great story.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And all of your family, your friends, everyone was okay, right? You've got tabs on them?
Yeah, everybody was okay. Everybody was okay. So it's New York, so like I said, it took a while.
Yeah.
But, everybody was okay. Nobody that I know was personally, involved.
Right, right. Well, wow, that hit really close to home to you. I can only imagine what you were feeling. And also being, not in the same country had to be so frustrating for you, to not be able to just get to your people,
Yeah,
so.
And then the time difference. And
yeah.
Then,
Yeah, well, and then, just your story, right? You re-enlisted, right? Is that what you did? And you deployed, and here you are. And we're so happy to have you here on our team.
Oh, thanks for saying that, Molly. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, what about you, Larry?
Here you go, Hansel.
Thank you, big guy. Not sure if my story measures up quite as much, may not be as exciting, but I come from a small town, and growing up on that small town, it was family tradition to take care of one another, take care of the community. So that was instilled in me at a very young age. Brothers, sisters, we all did the work on the farm. We took care of one another and took care of what needed to be done with our neighbors. So in my family, we've got 3 generations of vets that have served in almost every major conflict the U.S. has been in. And so as part of my duty as the oldest child to join the military. And I did. And my first thoughts when I talked to the counselor at school was, what can I do to help my community, right? Because this is instilled in me.
Sure.
And one of the first things that popped up was to become a medic. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So I became a combat medic in the service for 6 years and with 1 deployment. And it was what I dreamed of. It was what I wanted to do. I'm helping people, when they needed help. And that was pretty much my inner being. After serving in the military and getting out of the military, I still had that inner passion to help people. And I bounced around a few different jobs until I found a job up in Alaska back as an EMT. And this company paid to get me recertified again. And I started serving again as an EMT, got involved with the volunteer fire department. I went to the fire department just to give my services as a medic, and turned out I learned some firefighting skills. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so I became a firefighter, and this was volunteering again with the community, helping my community out the best I could, And from there, fast forward a little bit, I got into the DOD system, and I became full-time firefighter with my medic stuff kind of on the back side of it, And that's when I started realizing that the term what a public servant really means,
Sure.
And even going through my first marriage after I was that didn't work out, getting back involved in the church and getting involved with learning Jesus again in Christ, knowing that He is the ultimate servant. He's the one that paid the price for all of us to be here today to talk about this. And why is this relevant? Because it's the same that those guys that went into the towers on 9/11 had that servitude heart to serve, to save another man, woman, child that they didn't even know.
Sure.
They went in there knowing that they may not come out. If you read some of the accounts from 9/11, they knew from the onset that they were going to lose some guys.
Yeah.
And they never hesitated. They went in. Where was I at when all this happened? I was up in Alaska, moose hunting at a moose camp. We did this every year for about 2 to 3 weeks. And it's Alaska, so it's bush planes. They fly everywhere, right? And we were out in the bush, and it was quiet. What is going on? This is you don't hear any planes flying around. Because normally it's moose season. People flying back and forth, dropping people off, picking people up. And the pilot got on the radio and started listening, and that was when no flying was allowed. Everything was shut down. Right. We had to stay out there for an extended period of time because there was no flying at all allowed. And I was like, what? So I didn't have we didn't know what was going on. We kind of heard. So about 4 or 5 days later, I come back into the house, turn on the news, and then that's when it hit me, seeing the footage, because by then the news outlets had time to really cut and paste and put everything where they wanted to. It's seeing individuals falling, seeing the ground crew, the ash, the apparatuses being tore up. It just, I was mad.
Sure.
I think as a vet already being out, I immediately wanted to join up again. There were so many people that just were pissed off, to be honest, and wanted to go there and wreak vengeance on this. And with not even knowing, all we knew was that somebody hit our towers, hit our soil, and we were going to go back and make somebody pay. And as we know now, this turned out a 20-plus year war, that there was all kind of other indications and conspiracies and stuff that go in behind it. But what doesn't change out of all those conspiracies are those guys on 9/11 that went into that building. That would never change. It would never take away what they did. So when we say remember 9/11, I've participated in several stair climbs, Patriot Day runs, 9/11 events, and it's always about the memorial. So when you talk about the Patriot Day run that we have coming up, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
I was at the Veteran Council's meeting this past week, and we were talking about there. Mr. Mitchell, retired sergeant major, was talking about it, and all the stuff that you guys got going into it this year is amazing.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I stress, and the utmost importance, is to remember. When you see the name and the picture of an individual as you're walking the course or running the course, take a minute to reflect on that and remember him, honor him, say his name out loud. Take a moment to reflect on that. That's what this is about. It's not about a race. It's not about Army recruitment. It's not about going out and having a great time. It's
Right.
to honor the men and women that sacrificed that day and paid the ultimate sacrifice. And so that's why I did. You asked me where I was, what I did, how it affected me. It deeply affects me. And I'll always carry that with me. And I'll always do what I can to help people remember that. I'm also chapter president of Team RWB, which is a nonprofit veteran-run organization. It's Team Red, White, and Blue, RWB. And we are constantly out in the fields every week helping our homeless veterans, helping our needed veterans. This past week, we demoed a ramp. Listen to me, when I tell you this ramp, this guy could not get out of his house. There was a plank, like on a pirate ship, that went from where the ramp started to where his porch was, and it was literally maybe 6 inches wide. That's what they had to try to walk across. He was wheelchair bound. He couldn't get out.
Oh my gosh.
So we get this all the time. We get things that we replace windows, ramps, doors, whatever we need to do to help the veterans that are in need.
Sure.
We do this. We went out there for 9 hours, rebuilt this certified ADA ramp where if he needed EMS treatment, the ambulance could roll a gurney up to him now and get him out. So it's little things like that. Again, it's a servitude heart that I have, and I try to share that with people. So through the RWB, with my multiple outlets, events, and things that we have going on, we constantly honor our hero wads, doing activities, rucks, runs, push-ups, burpees, whatever it is. We get together and we do walks, runs, social events for painting. We have there's another organization in town called Team Savannah for Veterans. They coming up September 30th, I believe they have it. It's called Paint the Stigma. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
So it's PTSD, right? They do it two times a year. And maybe it's October. Don't quote me on those dates. It may be October, but it's one's PTSD month and one's suicide awareness. I think October Suicide Awareness.
Yes.
So we're doing it our second event, where we go out over here off of Geechee Road to the paintball fields over there, and it's like maybe $30 you pay, and you go out there and you just have fun shooting paintballs at one another. We talk to one another. We promote that awareness, but it's all these are veteran-run organizations. There's a lot more. Fight the War Within hosts charity balls every year honoring their the first responders that have passed away. Again, I'm long-winded. I talk a lot, but the point being, with your run and the 9/11 is honoring these individuals and trying to continue their legacy, and never forget really means never forgetting. It's not just another day of having fun.
Right. It's not just words.
Yes.
And I mean, especially it's blows my mind. I was talking to somebody the other day about the fact that there are kids. I mean, there are adults that are serving on this installation right now that were not alive for 9/11. You cannot walk up to them and say, where were you? How did that make you feel? They're learning about it through us, through school and their history, through the history lessons. But and I think that adds an extra layer onto the importance of, keeping this memory alive, right? Because it was just such a immensely moving, terrible day that awoken a spirit inside of all Americans, that I think was in the process of being lost. And it really sucked that it took something so terrible to kind of pull it all back together. And it really did change the course of our whole entire lives, And I am just so grateful to you guys and to, your teammates that are, all part of the fire emergency services crews on Stewart and Hunter.
Well, Molly, let me add this too,
Yeah.
since you brought this up. There are a lot of kids out there that wasn't alive when this happened. So to them,
Yeah.
it was something tragic, but they don't know. So you got to think about the generation before us. What was the major event in that time? Pearl Harbor, right?
Right.
Were you alive during Pearl Harbor?
I was not.
No, neither was I.
Yeah.
But your grandfather, right?
Sure.
He told you about it. They talked about it. So when we talk about honor, and not only, for this event that we're talking about, but when you talk about Pearl Harbor, think about those guys said, never forget. Let
Right.
this day live in infamy, from President Kennedy, I believe. Oh, not Kennedy. Eisenhower. Yes, thank you. So they had a very strong passion, but how many people still feel this way about it? It's
Right.
just another day in history. But these are also things to talk about. When you talk to a younger generation or an older generation, these are how you can tie these things together to
Sure.
bring back some of these feelings.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Also, not just thinking about what we went through, but and the first responders and the lives that were lost, and the veterans whose lives that were lost, but there were family members. There were regular civilians
Right.
that were in the towers and that lost family members. So we also focus on public education. So it's like, what did we learn from that entire moment in history up till now? It's 20 plus years. Okay, we have to educate the public better in certain areas, not just the training for the public servants and first responders and the soldiers.
Sure.
So that's one thing that I can say that we also continue to focus on here, is the fact that the public needs, that attention as well.
Yeah.
So what we do for what he does for the veterans, that takes a little strain off the veterans' family.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot of things that I can say that we pay attention to on the surface, which is, patriotism and veterans. But behind those veterans,
Sure.
behind those public service officials were families. And now
Right.
I can say that we really learned how to include families in the vision of how do we take care of the veteran, how do we support the public safety professional. So.
Sure. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Good point.
Great point. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
I like how when the country came together,
Yeah.
it was a real focus on togetherness and faith, and like the pretty much what the foundation of the country. It's like we went all the way back to the Constitution and said, all right, we're all equal right now. Let's
Right.
focus on the real threat here, and it's not internal. Right now, it's external. So for a time, the country was so unified, and like you said, it's bad that it has to take something of that magnitude to get everybody to focus on the reality of it. Like,
Right.
we're all here together.
Right.
I don't really care if I agree with you or not, but we're here together. And that brought people back to community. That brought
Sure.
people back to church. That brought people back to their original faith. That brought friendships and families back together, because
Right.
now it's almost like aliens landed. Nobody
Sure.
cares about the
Right.
differences right now, because they're completely different than us. Now,
Right.
now our similarities are more important.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
point. That's the same thing I was thinking. The worst day in American history was September 11th, right?
Yeah.
The best day was September 12th.
Yeah, September
because
12th.
that is what Trevor's talking about, is that's when we came together as a nation. Doesn't matter color, code, age, race, anything. Doesn't matter. Everyone came together to help.
Yeah.
However they could help.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And you're right. I mean, that went on for a little while, but then it kind of died off again. And it's sad that bad things like that have to happen for us to
Right.
to pull together.
Yep.
Okay, one more thing to add. and that's what I can say. Like, when you go into a church and you see people of like minds and like hearts, they can pray together, they can worship together, and they have, a great time. And you see some people, really get captivated and into it, and faith and spirituality. For public safety professionals, we have a common bond similar to that. Like, I can bounce things off of him that you might be able to hear him like, oh my God, but he will understand the
Right.
underlying
Sure.
emotion that comes with it, because he's seen something similar. He's been in a similar situation. So earlier, before all of the podcast started, he said we're a fraternity. It's similar to the fraternity of faith-based religions, where
Sure.
you see people who can read the Word of God and say, I understand it. We're not that to that effect and that gravity, but we can say things to each other that we can't say to civilians.
Right.
Because it's part of the fraternity.
It's your common bond,
Yeah, and having situations where we got to respond in kind, like the World Trade Center
Sure.
bombing, that's another common bond that we share. So we all will have the same push. Like,
Right.
I know his specialty is, I know what his is, but we're all going in the same direction for the same purpose. And that's what being a part of this camp means to me. But I know we may have different views, different upbringings, but when we go through the same door, we all push into the same project, through the same opening, for the same goal.
Yeah, all that other stuff just
It melts away. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, man, 100%. Everything he's talking about, our training that we go through together, when we made that push, we train together. We have faith in one another. We know our confidence, our skill sets. We know that this is our task. This is what we're going to do. We decide we're going to get it done. And that's when you go and talk about churches and different religions, it's faith. And the whole the definition of faith is just believing in something that you don't even understand.
Right.
And America today doesn't understand that. They want questions answered. They want everything lined out, black and white. They don't know. We've lost the faith-based principle. And
Right.
faith is believing in something that you don't understand. That is the basic form of it. And I think if we came back to that as a nation, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, and just having more faith in each other, right?
Faith is strong. That's, I can honestly say, loving the Word of God and how God teaches lessons. What we learn here, it kind of bounces off the Word of God in the Bible, because you have to walk in a house. You don't know if the floor is there, sometimes, because you can't see it,
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you got to depend on a guy, that's faith as well. But then we all sit and say a prayer before we go in there.
Sure.
They can say whatever they want, but I know when you see a guy just before he goes in, he's quiet, he's to himself, he's praying.
Sure.
If he's in a truck on the way, listening to dispatch, when you freeze, you look at him, he's praying. Because so it's something that is synonymous with what we do, the servitude. So I love it. And my mom's proud of me, my family loves it. So it's nothing that I can really do that can trump what I'm into now.
Sure.
Other than taking care of the family at a higher level. So I love what I do. This is one of the things that they say: if you can do it for free, you found your passion. And this is something I can definitely do it for free.
One of the assistant chiefs, I was like, man, I don't think I've worked a day in my life since I've had this job, because I've enjoyed my job every day that I've been here. Absolutely. There's been some up and downs, but I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life. It's been a great ride. Just to tag in one more time, I know we're getting long-winded and talking a lot of stuff, but being the faith and the firefighters, right, in religion, our symbol, right, that Maltese cross, that was part of the religion. The Crusaders that were going in, and so it's built into our brotherhood all the way down. There's a long line of it.
And Greek fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got one more thing?
You got any other questions?
I've loved this conversation with you guys so much. And really, it made me think about just the chain reaction of how, 9/11 was just the beginning. But, you even look at Warriors Walk, right? None of those trees would be there had it not been for 9/11, right? And you guys served our country. But before 9/11, correct? You just, Trey, you decided you still had some fight in you.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is you both still have fight in you by being part of this brotherhood of firefighters, you're still going, and it's so incredibly admirable, right? Because, you look at those little children's books of, the people in the town, that you can't be in the town without these people, and you guys, your profession is there, right? Firefighting is not just about saving the kitten from the tree.
Yeah.
So that's a very cute thought. It's so much deeper than that. And I think I can speak for everyone, when I say that I'm just in awe of you guys. I'm just so appreciative, that you guys love what you do so much and just are willing to lay it all down, for us. It really means something. So thank you both so much.
It's not a decision, honestly.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the weird thing about training, and this is part of my push for community training, if you don't have it in there, you can't pull it out.
Sure.
So when we train, it's muscle memory. That's my reasoning to explain when you can see an EMT go look at somebody who's in really bad shape and not freak out.
Right.
How we can look at a burning building and figure different ways in versus everybody it's too hot. We're like, yeah, we know. We're still going in.
Yeah.
But it's a part of it. We don't consider us. We consider the people we leave behind.
Sure.
And that's pretty much synonymous from every soldier and firefighter that I've really talked to on a real level. We worry about the people that will be without us before we worry about ourselves. And that's just part of what we are. So when people say, oh, you're not afraid? I'm like, if I didn't have this gear on, I'm not going in there.
Right.
But I also have the gear and the training and the knowledge and understanding. So it's like, okay, I'm cool.
Yeah. True selfless service.
And for me, that's what it means.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you guys both so much for being on the podcast with me today. Like I said, this is just always my most favorite part of any podcast all year round is to sit down and get real with you guys, because I know this truly does mean so much to you guys, and it's so moving to just hear you guys talk about how much you love your professions, and it really shows every single day in what you guys do. So you have something to say?
I was just thinking, real quick, if anybody wanted to get in touch with me in regards to you can help veterans out in the community, I can give you my personal cell number out, and that is 864-992-3447. And you can just call it, leave a text, whatever, leave a name and a number, I can get back to you, and I'll get you all the information that you need to help, do what you want to do.
That's awesome. Thank you, Larry. Mm-hmm. And then what if anybody's interested in the classes that you guys offer? How do they go about getting in touch with you guys to do something like that? Is that something that you only do for units or FRGs or?
Well, we do them pretty much for anyone who's on base or Hunter or Fort Stewart or in the area. And we have facility warden, fire warden classes every third Thursday of the month. Just show up to building 1851 on Fort Stewart and you'll be included. Cool. 0900. We have hot works classes that we do for contractors on base. But we also, we're trying to get back into doing CPR classes, and I've pretty much tethered a class just oriented to the community so we can have some of the spouses and civilians that work on base for their own families, just for the knowledge portion. If you don't get certified, at least get the knowledge, because when grandma, auntie is on the floor, nobody cares about your certification.
Absolutely, I would agree.
Yeah, there's a Fort Stewart Fire Department webpage, Facebook page. Yeah. You can look us up that way, or you can get in touch with Creef here, and he'll definitely, I know your middle name. So you can get in touch with us many different ways and just follow the breadcrumbs. Yeah.
The same is true for Hunter. We have our facility manager classes, fire warden classes, the third Thursday of every month at 9 o'clock, and it's in building 610 out there. Awesome. And same, we used to have it, I'm not sure if we're still following up on it, but on Facebook we would have those events inside the event calendar. Yeah. You would see what facility manager classes, what hot work classes, because they're usually quarterly, and or the unit safety officer classes are on there too. So that's another way of looking at it through the Facebook page.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just for those of you guys who are wondering what that Facebook page is, it's Fort Stewart-Hunter Army Airfield Fire Emergency Services. So please make sure that you give these guys a follow, because they're always doing really neat stuff. They've got great, cool imagery that they're putting up there of all of their trainings. It's a really good page that you guys should definitely follow to keep informed. Well, you know what? That is going to be it for this week's edition of the Marne Report Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. And you know what? We're going to talk at you again next time.
Are you a civilian, spouse, or family member who is interested in working for the Army? Check out the Army Fellows Program. This 2-year program allows you to experience the work environment of the Department of Defense while blending work assignments and developmental opportunities that will help you grow into an Army civilian professional with eligibility for permanent placement across the Army. For more information, visit portal.chra.army.mil.